Let's get right to it with Congressman Joe Courtney from the 2nd District. We have a lot to talk about. Sir, good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Sure. Yep.
So, and again, we're in day 16. I'll start with the shutdown. Is this, and again, I want to get back past talking points the best that I can. The Republicans say, let's separate out the issue of healthcare and we'll talk about it after. And maybe it's because of leverage, or maybe you don't trust the Republicans, but you're not accepting that. Is it because you don't trust them to get back to it, or why not?
Because actually we have a ticking clock where people are going to start making, or being forced to make plan selections for 2026 on November 1st. I mean, that's the thing that they just do not acknowledge. And so I had a telephone town hall the other night, 10,000 people on the call. A woman from Coventry called in. Her if we do not extend those subsidies starting on November 1st, her plan is that she's going to have to elect for next year, and that she's had in place now, is going up to $37,200, and that is throughout the entire system. In fact, Republican states who use the program more than New England are facing even bigger numbers. Places like Florida, Texas, and so we have to do this now if we are going to actually get the benefit of the premium tax subsidies for 2026. Otherwise, a lot of people like Christine from Coventry are going to lose her health insurance.
Well, let me ask you then, because the debate when I was learning about this stuff as a younger man was, is healthcare a privilege or a right? And that was the conversation, right? And these subsidies, and I'm asking, I have no stance on this, but were these subsidies agreed upon to good night?
So first of all, I want to make something clear. For Christine in Coventry, that doesn't mean she's getting free health insurance. She is still paying a substantial premium with a high deductible. Okay, this is not cheapo health insurance. And subsidies were built into the system back in 2010 when the law passed. But there was a cliff that was created for people who were middle income and working people. $65,000 a year for a single individual, you got zero subsidy. And what was happening is that the plans were just too expensive for people, and they were not enrolling. When 4 years ago, when we fixed it, we saw basically the number of people in the exchanges around the country go from 11 million to 24 million. And we saw it here in Connecticut in terms of the uptake that's there. So, again, Donald Trump gave Argentina $20 billion and has announced they're going to double that this week. Really a fraction of that would be enough to solve this problem. And there's just no question about that. This is, by the way, this is day 27 that the House has not been in session. I'm in Washington.
Right.
I had meetings with the Navy yesterday and the Australian Embassy. The Prime Minister is coming to Washington next week to meet with Trump, and AUKUS is on the table, et cetera. So, but I mean, it's a ghost town, and it's 27 days. And there were session days scheduled, and Johnson is just he's shut the place down. That's not how you govern.
Well, I mean, the truth is, you're waiting on the Senate vote. It's not expected to pass, and then they go away.
Brian, there is a lot of other work that we need to do here. The National Defense Authorization Act. The clock is ticking in terms of doing that. We've got the full year budget to negotiate. The Appropriations Committee should be meeting to finish this thing off beyond the CR that's there. So it's not like everything hinges on a CR passes.
I got it. We're talking with Joe Courtney, 2nd District Congressman here at Bryan and Company. What bothers me about it, even the subsidies, and I want to move on to the president for a quick second, is that ultimately the subsidies are just underwriting the bigger problem, which is you're underwriting the insurers ultimately, and so the system still stinks. Right. So I wish there was a way to start talking about a grander bargain here so we don't have to give subsidies, which ultimately underwrite the insurers, which are for-profit companies.
The entire health insurance system, your plan through WTIC, which I presume you have an employer-based plan, there's a tax exclusion there that underwrites the hit in the cost for everybody who's on an employer-based plan. So the fact that people who are self-employed who use the exchange, or graduate school students don't have an employer, it's not like they're getting more than anybody else. The tax support for the system has been around since
I was just grousing. I was making a macro statement, not even comparing me to people who use.
And I'd love to have you go. We could talk about how when the public option was debated during the Affordable Care Act passed the House, that would have created a benchmark plan that would have been much lower cost. The insurance companies fought it tooth and nail. And, to me, that was one of the real tragic losses in terms of, getting the system under control.
A lot of people think that the Republicans won't do a thing until the president tells them what to do, and he's not engaged in this. So what's going to, the question is, because a lot of people think the Republicans simply are sitting still because of that, right? But my question is, how does this end, and when does it end?
So, everybody's always sort of watching where the public is on this impasse that's here right now. Wall Street Journal had a lengthy article about a week or so ago. Trump's pollster was in the White House saying you're on the wrong side of this issue on health care, and the numbers show it. Kaiser Family Foundation had a similar poll that came out, and at some point, they know that it's their own constituencies in places like Florida. The Latino vote who shifted to Trump in 2024. That's the group that uses the Affordable Care Act plans more than anybody else in Florida. I was talking to a member yesterday, Darren Soto from Florida, who's Cuban American, who was telling me about that, and they are up in arms when they have seen these. So it seems like at some point that has to penetrate. That there's a political risk here, that the president is playing with fire, right. and it's just like, look at your Argentina policy and look at the numbers that would take to fix this. We could do this tonight.
Yeah. Listen, real quick on AUKUS, of course, the deal for nuclear subs for Australia. I was reading some Australian perspectives, and, I think they have to deliver another tranche of their payments, but there's no guarantee of delivery, and there's real concern in Australia about the ability to make these things in time. Just give us an update on what's happening.
So the prime minister will be in town Monday, Albanese, for his first face-to-face meeting with Trump. And the Department of Defense has been doing an AUKUS review, which has been going on for months now. And, the Navy has come out 1,000% in support of AUKUS. And they're the guys who are users of submarines, which apparently is the hesitation that people in DOD have, regarding the plan. But the Navy says this is good. We're going to have an operating base in Western Australia, where we can do repairs and availabilities, make subs available to deploy, as opposed to schlepping back and forth to public shipyards that are completely backed up and slow in terms of turning stuff around. They're paying for every penny of it. This is not Ukraine where, stuff is being, donated or whatever, but from a taxpayer standpoint, this is a good deal for the U.S. It's a good deal for our Navy. And, you can't have a better ally than the Australians. So he'll be in town Monday. Supposedly the AUKUS review may get released, simultaneously with that. And again, I had meetings at the embassy yesterday with the Minister of Industry and Defense, Patrick Conroy. They can do a lot for things like rare earth minerals. As they said, the continent of Australia has the geology of a periodic table. Everything is there. Yeah, and it would be a secure supply chain.
Yeah. Well, the more issues to talk about another time is, building them for them at the expense of our own, and they're good nighting. They're retiring more subs than they're making, and I have a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about. But I really appreciate the time you gave me, and hopefully we'll get an update soon. Thank you, sir.
Okay, take care, Brian.
All right, Joe Courtney, Congressman in the 2nd District. It's 8:00.